What's going on, guys? It's Sarafia, and well, it's time for another tier list. I was kind of caught between doing a predictions of next season and just kind of capping out this season for season 0. As you can see, this is not my current tier list, but 2 weeks ago I made a tier list, and you can see already, Iron Fist is S tier. So I really wanted to make a new one after a couple of weeks of playing to give a much better, more educated idea of how things actually stand, in my opinions on it. So let's get into it. I've got the tier maker pulled up. We'll get right into Adam Warlock, because this one is more or less alphabetized. Cool. This tier list you're going to see is much different, and here's why. So Adam Warlock, I think I already had pretty high. I'm going to put him at A. He is very good for healing. His ultimate, if you know how to use it correctly, is phenomenal. The only reason I won't put him in S is because I think there are a couple healers better than him, but he is top tier still in his own right. Very good if you know how to use him. Very good damage as kind of like a secondary DPS for your healing. Since you only rely on those cooldowns, you can do damage the whole time. You don't have to stop to heal like Rocket or Jeff, Luna, Cloak and Dagger. A lot of them really have to focus healing, or they can't really do damage at the same time. Black Panther, I think, is A tier. I think he could possibly be S in the right hands. I think he is probably the top 2 melee DPS right now, for sure. Black Widow, terrible. Black Widow is absolutely terrible. She, I think, is the only person that stayed in the bottom from my original list, and we'll get into why that is. But she just doesn't have what Hawkeye has, or what Hela has, or Namor, or Adam Warlock. Everybody does more damage than she does, faster, has better mobility, or something. She's lacking in some area, in every area. So she's D tier, and we'll probably stay there. Hulk, I'm going to bump up to A. Hulk, I think, has a lot of potential, very high skill ceiling, especially against some other tanks. His mobility is fantastic. If he can stick to walls, if he can exile people for a few seconds, really just take a character out of the game for a few seconds there. He's very strong. Thunderclap does a lot of damage. He's just a good bruiser. He gets in there, he takes a lot of damage, takes a lot of attention away from your squishies and from every tank. So if the right mobility, he's definitely A, pushing S. We'll see how he is. He's who I wanted to do the predictions for next season with, which I may still pop up a video before then. We'll see. But Hulk, A tier, may drop down depending on the season buffs of next season. I don't have the information for the next season buffs, but he does get extra health this season. And I think without the extra health, I feel like he's going to be pretty vulnerable and a lot harder to play. Captain America, I had him pretty much bottom tier last time. I'm going to bump him up to B. I think he's actually pretty solid. He's not as good as other shield tanks, but he does deflect projectiles, which is very nice for some ultimates. With Thor, if you have a guaranteed Thor, I'd almost put him in A tier, because he actually does have decent damage output with a Thor. But if you're running him and Thor, you're really running dive hard, so it's pretty situational. But all around, I think Cap got a really bad rap. I don't think he's the best, but I think he's still pretty solid. Cloak and Dagger, still S tier. That one's going to stay the same. They're just strong, do a lot of damage, a lot of healing. The blind is so good on Cloak, as well as the invulnerability that he gives for the whole team. I think that move puts him in S tier on its own. He could have B tier, C tier, everything else, and having that move would bump him up 1 or 2 spots. Doctor Strange, I'm going to say, is A. He has a lot of kind of skill expression with the portals and team synergies. I don't play a ton of stacked team games. I think in stacked team games he's almost necessary, because you can make those portals do a lot of stuff. Solo queue and otherwise 2-3 stacks. I think he's A tier. He's very good, very strong damage, solid big shield. He has the capabilities of kind of blocking in the air, but some other characters can't, like getting up there into a Hela's ult, things like that. Groot, I'm also going to bump to A tier. I think Groot is very strong. I think most of the Vanguards are actually very strong right now, but that's also because the healers are so good right now. Healers are very strong. Groot's A for sure. He has a lot of skill expression with the wall placement. He does a lot of damage, actually. You'd be surprised how much damage Groot can put out. As well, just being able to block for the team and really kind of make your placements. I think he's really strong right now. Hawkeye's S tier. He's one that I think will probably still be S tier. He doesn't get actually nerfed, besides the season buff of 15% damage bonus. I think 15% may be the difference in one or two shotting some characters, but with the 15% bonus, he's still going to one-shot most squishies, which still makes him the best DPS in the game because he can one-click your healer, and then you suddenly don't have a healer. Hela, S tier, crazy good, because she nearly has hit scan. It's like almost immediate, if not immediate. So hit scan with headshot damage and everything else. Her ultimate giving her a free pass to get in danger and then suddenly have 1,000 HP. You know, like things like that. She's just really good. Good mobility. Good crowd control even with her orb. Very strong character. I think these two are probably going to see some nerfs, if not only the season bonuses. I think they really should have a little bit of a tuning too. I really don't like nerfs, but I think that some characters like them could use it. Or you need to bring up Black Widow's damage to match it. You know, things like that. Because like Namor and Black Widow, Namor is close. We'll get to him, but I think they're just too strong compared to every other DPS. Okay, Iron Fist. This guy is kind of the bread and butter of why I wanted to make another tier list and why a lot of creators have made it a second tier list, because a lot of us had him a lot of S tier. Just to the frustrations and new to the game, you're playing a duelist, and this guy is just all in your grill the whole time. He has those deflects, the heals, the movement, the tracking. He's still very strong, but if you know how to handle him, a Hawkeye, a Hela, etc., you can just click his head and he's gone. So, you know, yeah, he can deflect that one shot. You can just wait for him to stop guarding and shoot him in the head. He can dive you, and then you can deflect him with Hawkeye and shoot him in the head. So I'll still land him B tier because he does good damage. He has really good disruption. I don't think he's S tier or A tier at all. I think he's strong. I think he has a really good kit. But I think he's actually very fair. He has good skill expression too. You can't really just button mash as much as people thought you could. Especially once you get into like Platinum, Diamond, and higher. You just don't see him hardly at all, because you have other characters that do his job better, like Black Panther and Wolverine, which I'm very excited. He's last there, but we'll get to him. I've been a Wolverine preacher since day one, okay? Iron Man. I think Iron Man actually gets bumped up a little bit, because I think I had him around like B last time. I'm actually going to bump him to A just because his consistent damage output, if you have good tanks and a healer with some range like a Mantis, or a Luna Snow or Cloak and Dagger that can just kind of, you know, keep you in mind, keep you healthy enough, and they, you know, especially if you get into Diamond, pick bans ban Hawkeye Hela almost every single game, so Iron Man immediately becomes like 3 tiers stronger because he can't get one shot out of a sky. But I think that's also why, you know, characters like Warlock kind of get bumped up, because he can. Warlock can ping out Iron Man not like nothing. But he's very good, especially with Hulk getting more play. He gets that Gamma buff, which also makes Doctor Strange better. I think Iron Man's a solid A. Let's get into Jeff. Jeff, I think, is not great. I think I'm going to put him C tier. Jeff is obnoxious for his ultimate. His ultimate needs some tuning. Because, I don't know, like, more of us know how to dodge it. It still doesn't work too well sometimes, depending on your ping, things like that. You know, I play in about a 20 ping most of the time, and I still feel like I get grabbed from outside of a circle when I did dodge out of it. It's kind of a weird hitbox, but I feel like the whole game does, being in third person. It's something you have to learn. But Jeff, healing is okay. His damage is kind of negligible, and he has to stop healing to do damage, which makes it even more negligible. And his healing is kind of funky to use. I don't think it's really... I think he's C tier, honestly. Loki, I'm actually going to put A tier. Loki, for me, could even be close to S. This is more personal bias. Loki's probably my favorite hero to play other than Warlock. Actually, I probably enjoy playing him more. He's very fun. He has a very high skill ceiling, and other than being countered to absolute oblivion by Moon Knight and Winter Soldier, he is phenomenal. He has really good burst damage, really good healing. His staff that negates damage can save your whole team from ultimates. It also heals a ton. He really just flips a whole team fight. If you can get those staffs placed correctly in a big AoE, your team is healthy. So I think he's really, really strong. Also, he's one of the safest picks because he has decent mobility. He has the kind of, faux coverage with his clones. And on top of that, you also get anyone's ultimate in the game. So if you have somebody that's being a problem, you have a Psylocke being a problem, right? They're diving, they're killing your healers. Okay, well, you change the Psylocke, kill their healers. They have a Luna, you have a Luna. You can have a second Luna ult. So you're not even sacrificing the Luna ult by using Loki. You get his utility and Luna's ult. So I think he's phenomenal. I think he's definitely A tier, if not higher, especially get the higher skill ceiling you have there. He's really, really good. Luna Snow is S tier. The movement she has, the range she has, the healing output, the single target DPS and healing she has, really, really strong. The stun she has is phenomenal. If anybody jumps on you, you can just hit them in the face with the ice ball. Click on the head a couple times, they're dead. She makes a lot of those diving characters not as much of a problem. Which is the only reason I think she'd be better than Mantis. But I think we're still going to see Mantis up there too. Magic is A tier. She's very strong, also very high skill ceiling. You're going to see a lot of that. A lot of these characters that I'm putting higher than they were last tier list, and it's the same for all creators. If they have a high skill ceiling, the higher you get in rank, the better they are in the tier list. That's just how it is. Because you see them used correctly, and so you see them used really well to their full potential, and suddenly they are monstrous. They're so good. Magic a problem. She's beefy. She has a lot of iframes, so she has a lot of safety in her portals. Very, very good damage. Can nuke a squishy like nothing if you know the little animation cancel combo. Even without it, some of them still fall over. So she's very good. The thing is, you'll see about this, and I'll go ahead and preface this before we get any further. This tier list is going to not be very bottom heavy. It's going to be very top heavy because I think most characters in the game with skill expression are really good. I don't think a lot of characters don't need much buff or nerf. I think the game's in a really good spot other than a couple of characters, and I think that's good. I think if a lot of characters could be A, B tier, fantastic. That means the balancing is good. Magneto. Okay, so I actually... I'm going to put Magneto in S tier because, and this is a bit of a bias, I did have Thor as my S tier tank last time. I think with how many Hawkeye Hellas you have, how many, who else? Like Iron Mans and stuff like that, and just like, unless you have a heavy dive comp, you see a lot of Punisher, a lot of Hela, a lot of Hawkeye, a lot of Namor, a lot of Moon Knight. Anything that has heavy projectiles is very, very good for Magneto. Because Magneto doesn't have a health pool for his shield. He has a timer. And so if you can kind of weave in and out with that timer, kind of like with Hulk, if you can use that shield, it doesn't have a health bar. And then you also get the bubbles, so you can give your bubble to your other tank that you hopefully have. If you don't, you can give it to Magic or something, or a healer, and save them. So really, really good at picking spots. I end up playing solo queue tank a lot, and I'm playing solo tank on top of that because other people aren't playing tank. Magneto is probably my favorite single tank because he has the most coverage of any other tank, I guess, except for like Groot. But you really have to have your team work with you for Groot because if your Groot walls do not align with the gameplay of the other team or of your teammates in your solo queue that you aren't talking to because nobody's in comms, he's not nearly as good because he's now blocking your teammates. So Magneto doesn't block your team, has good coverage, good shields. I think he's the best tank in the game, personally, just as a bulwark stonewall tank. I think he is the best, like, on defense, absolutely. Mantis, the other S tier healer, absolutely. This is why like Luna has stronger bursty heals and Mantis has phenomenal overtime heals. So these are the two you love to see put together. I would interchange one of them with Loki as my third, as my personal third. Usually, if I have Luna, I like to go Loki. If I have Mantis, I like to go Warlock. Because Warlock, obviously, Mantis, you get the Resurrection on Mantis, and that's phenomenal. And Warlock covers you on your bursty heals, while Luna also is bursty, but can kind of has that same kind of overtime trickle healing with the smaller amounts but quicker pace, if you know what I mean. So she pairs well with either. Mantis, I think, pairs a lot better with Warlock as the secondary healer. Because obviously you can, Mantis, Luna, ult back and back, and then you just, your team doesn't die for 20 seconds. Moon Knight, I think, is A tier. I would put him in S for his damage output, but I also think that, like, if you have a smart enough team and you have kind of a wherewithal of where he is, where he's going to throw his onks, he does tremendous damage and has really good zoning. But if you can kind of counteract to where he's at, or you have a Hawkeye or Hell of it just kind of picks him off, then he's not that much of a problem. But he does clear a point by himself. So very, very good. I would honestly see his onks. Like, I wouldn't see necessarily his bouncing nerfed at all, but his onk bouncing I feel like is a little too strong. I feel like that should have like a slight damage difference because it's a free bounce instead of hitting an opponent to bounce it. Namor, I'm also gonna throw an A tier. This is just gonna be the A tier list, okay? He's actually, I gave him I think a C or a D rank. He was on the other side of my Thor in my last thumbnail because I thought he was terrible. He actually is very strong. Especially paired with Luna Snow. Again, you're kind of seeing this thing of like, okay, these team ups and with these S tier characters, that is where you're going to see these really, really strong skill expressions come out. You're going to see these, these little buffs that really just give them everything they need to be good. Namor having an additional little octopus turret makes or breaks him. It's like that, having another one to throw down to kind of protect your back line, to do a little extra DPS, to even eat a bullet or two, it really does make a world of difference. And it also has that freezing, which slows. Very, very strong. Very, very good for all the dive that you see, because you see a lot of Black Panther, Wolverine, Iron Fist dives, Psylocke, things like that. So as soon as Psylocke shows herself, that turret's over there pinging her, so you know where Psylocke is. Namor, I think, is very good. He bumped up to A. I think he's got a lot of potential to be very, very strong going forward. If he gets a season buff or something, he might be S tier, to be entirely honest. Penny, I think, is probably the other S tier tank, to be honest. She, the robot itself is the second best defensive tank, in my opinion, other than Magneto. I feel like Penny for divers, right? So, like, if I'm playing a lot of projectile, I play Magneto. If I play against a lot of divers, like your Thor, your Venoms, things like that, you play Penny. That's pretty much the switch off for me if I'm solo tanking. Penny doesn't give as much of a defensive bonus, but she really, really holds down the point really well. And you can really bait a lot of those divers into those mines, and they just blow up and die. So, who needs to tank when everything's dead, right? It's kind of offense to the best defense vibe there. She's very, very strong. If you know how to use her webs, she's very good at evading. Like, she's kind of like a dodge tank, if you will. If you've played some MMORPGs, things like that, played Marvel Heroes back in the day, she's a dodge tank. Psylocke, S tier. Psylocke is absurd. She is the only person that can go invis on her own. Moon Knight can with the team up of Cloak and Dagger, but like, her ability to get into the backline is, better than any other character. She has this shotgun of knives that she throws that does absurd damage. Her ultimate is one of the best in the game for just point clearing. It does a ton of damage. It's basically free because she really can't die during it. Very, very strong. I think she has a little skill expression, but I think she's also like easier to play than a lot of other characters. And so it's like skill expression plus being overtuned, and so that's why she's just insanely good. Because you could have a casual mid-level player, gold, platinum player, you can get in there and they do some work with it. But you get like a grandmaster, one above all level Psylocke, and then that's a problem. You just can't do anything about her. So yeah, she's definitely S tier. Probably her and Like her and Hawkeye are probably the best duelists in the game. If it's like a 1-for-1. Punisher is B tier. So Punisher does a ton of damage. He is the Soldier 76 of this game. He is the I have an assault rifle character in this game. You know, any MOBA, any hero shooter you've played, there's always this guy. It's like I have an assault rifle. I will hold RT, or right click, left click, whatever you got. You know, I'm a dirty console player. He's very good. You know, he does a lot of spread damage. I just think that it's like, why are you using your DPS slot on a Punisher when you have, you know, any of these? He's really good for like kind of consistent damage. I'll give him that. But I feel like Moon Knight does a better job just kind of harassing. Especially because a lot of his harassment has to do with that turret, which the turret is a hit and miss. If you have divers on the other team, they just come up behind you and kill you in your turret. And I've seen many of them throw some 360s around and not hop off that turret, just die on that turret. Rocket, it's probably going to be... Do I have any other healers to bump down? I really don't. I mean, Rocket's B tier. He's not terrible. Jeff is worse than him. I'll give him that. So yeah, B tier is correct. I think he... What's funny is his damage is pretty good. But that's, you know, you don't want to use his damage because he has to heal, and if he's healing, he can't do damage at the same time, kind of like Jeff. And I feel like that may be a common thing with the worse healers there, is that their healing is not terrible. It's just that they can't also protect themselves at the same time. And so immediately when you are out of luck and somebody's diving you, you're just kind of hopelessly, you know, throwing out orbs, throwing out water, whatever, to try to get to your team, but your team has left you in the back line to die, and you can't really defend yourself other than, like, movement. You know, both of them just have little movements to get away. So I think he's a B tier. I don't think he's bad. I think he's fine. I just think there's, you know, there are 4 other healers that are much better than him. Scarlet Witch, I think she's a solid... Okay, so with Hawkeye in the game, she's B or C. With Hawkeye, Hela, Psylocke banned in Diamond, she's B. So we'll say B. For high tier, she's B. Granted, in high tier, she's also really easy to counter regardless of that. Nah, give her a C. I'm also a Magneto main, so I really like her. Because unfortunately, she makes Magneto a lot stronger, but she herself is not very good. So I'd almost rather have a different DPS and I just not do the damage that I would do and have a different DPS than Wanda. She's C, you know, she has solid damage. Her ult's cool. It works really well with like strange portals, Groot walls, things like that. So you can kind of peekaboo it and hit people with it. I think she still kind of requires a lot of like teamwork to make happen because she needs to be in the back line because she doesn't have that much range. But yeah, I give her a C. C's fine. Spider-Man is a B tier. You know, like Spider-Man has a lot of skill expression. Spider-Man can be very strong. It's just that he typically is very dependent on making these like really wild skill plays. So it's kind of like, it's like a Genji, right? If you played Overwatch, you have your Genjis. You have your high skill expression characters that you play. But, like, really, your only top 1% is going to really be impactful to Spider-Man outside of his ultimate. And, like, his ultimate, you know, is really, really good. Because all it requires you to do is do one little decently placed web swing and suddenly you have a quad. But outside of that ultimate being ready to go, usually you don't see him do that much. He can pick off a healer there, here and there. If he has the Venom buff, you know, he's pretty good. But in reality, he's probably B tier, unless you are like top 1%, top 0.5% Spider-Man. You know, I would rather my Spider-Man play even, you know, maybe not Iron Fist. I don't know. I'm in between these days on Iron Fist or Spider-Man being like the better B tier. But I'd much rather them play like Psylocke or Panther or Magic, you know, because they do effectively... Well, not... I mean, Psylocke does do the same thing in the sense that her ult is almost the same and is safer. But, like, Black Panther, Magic, they do the dive thing. They do the dashing, the, you know, moving around really fast. So I think just play one of them unless you are just a god. Which, you know, get a peer review. Don't trust your own instincts on if you're the best Spider-Man, okay? Squirrel Girl. She's like a B tier. Squirrel Girl's fine. I like her. She plays well. Her movement's fun. Her kit's fun. I don't think she's like a top tier DPS, but she has good damage. She has good movement. You know, she's got with Spider-Man. Ironically, she has a crazy good crowd control because you get your snare and then the web snare. So she really can pin down a team. Like, you know, that web snare is almost like a Groot ult. That thing is crazy strong. But I would also not want Squirrel Girl Spider-Man in most occasions. You know, so it's kind of that trade-off there is like, oh, really good team up, but then you have these two individual characters that don't really make up for it. Like if you have like the two of them and you're running like a Venom and Penny or something, you know, like get a lot of team up synergy going, you really just shut down an area like they can, you might be able to work something out there. But that's probably with the team, not solo queue. So something to keep in mind. Star-Lord is the B. I'm going to say B on Star-Lord. Star-Lord has good damage, very similar to Tracer, you know, that kind of thing, just rapid damage. Unless you're crazy accurate, you're not hitting half of those anyway. But really good damage, solid ult, kind of another one of those things that like he almost goes to C tier if Hela and Hawkeye are in the game. Because he's flying around and Hawkeye doesn't care, he shoots you in the sky, your ultimate was wasted, you know, whatever. His little spinning mini Spider-Man ult, Reaper ult, you know, it's fun. It's good. He does good damage, good mobility, but I think he's like a solid B tier. Storm's going to go in the C down here. I'm going to say C if you have a Thor. I'm going to say D otherwise. Storm is just slow Iron Man, you know? Like that's like Storm, I think if she was a little faster naturally outside of her speed buff, I think she'd be fine. Not fine. I think she would have a much easier time because, like, if you have Storm, it's again like, why don't you just play Star-Lord? Why don't you just play Iron Man? You have these flying characters that are faster, do more damage, like have a better ultimate. Storm's ultimate's pretty good, but it's also like very slow, very like very obvious. You know, similar to Wanda's, a little better than Wanda's. But I think she's D right now. I think she needs a little help. I don't know what that help is exactly. I really do think movement speed and like projectile speed would make a world of difference for her. I don't think her damage needs to be higher. I don't think she needs tunes to her kit that much. I think she just needs things to be faster. Like if her projectiles hit a little quicker, like especially, you know, because you know with Thor and stuff, you get those double lightning bolts, you can start doing some damage. It's just the little wind slashes that she does are so slow, they're so hard to land, and it's just really easy to kind of bait her out. And you know she's slow, floating around in the sky. I really like her for what she does because the damage boost and the speed boost for a team are awesome, especially if you can pair it with like a Mantis ult. Like you can really just go ahead and bomb rush a team. It's phenomenal. But D tier for now. Thor, I'm throwing an A tier. We got another A tier there, very, very stacked in the A tier, like I said. Thor was my S tier pick for last time for tanks. I think he, you know, once you got to know how to play against him, especially with Wolverine and characters like that being picked up a little more often, he gets shredded by Wolverine. And so unless you really carefully pick your spots, you have really good healers, he's going to die to your Wolverine. You're going to see Wolverine more and more the higher rank you get. So we're going to put him in A tier. I think he's still crazy strong. He has really, really good crowd control. You can save your team all day long from different ultimates, usually involving sacrificing yourself because you don't have a shield. But they're flashy, so they make for great clips, great content, right? So he's solid, very good mobility, good range, good damage. Probably one of the higher damage tanks for sure, other than like penny bombs. He's good, you know, very good, A rank. Venom, I think, is also A. I think he, you know what? I'm sticking with it. This is my opinion, right? This isn't crowd opinion. Venom, I've picked up Venom a little more. I like Venom a lot more than I did. I think he is one of the best tanks as well. You know, being one of the best tanks means you're A to S tier. Like, you know, you're going to be up there. Cap's the only one not there. But his self-sustain is great. That's why he's so good for solo queue. He's also bad for solo queue because nobody can hit him with healing. But that's why you can, you know, kind of protect yourself. You can give yourself two different big shields with your ultimate and your secondary. But he's phenomenal. Very good tank. Good damage output if you can make sure to hit all those tendrils. But very good A rank tank. A tier. This guy, Winter Soldier, old Bucky Barnes, he is S tier because of the fact that his ultimate, it really is like his kit is great. He has really good mobility, good crowd control with the anti-air orb and the pull and the punch on his dash. So very good crowd control, very solid damage. That little 3-piece revolver. But his ultimate is the most ridiculous thing. Just again, because he has so much freedom to use it. Because it has a lot of range, has a big AoE, but on top of that, he also gets this refresh. And the refresh lasts, I don't know exactly how long it stays there for like 10, 12 seconds after you've like hit someone. And then you don't actually have to kill them with the ultimate. You actually can kill them like 3 seconds later and still get that refresh. So I think Bucky, I think everything he does is fine as is. I think his ultimate needs a little bit of tuning with how long it's available after a refresh or how many refreshes you get or something like that. It's a little too free to get refreshes. I like the backup safety of being able to like refresh it when you don't necessarily get a kill with the hit, because you get things like a Warlock, right? He pops a heal and then pretty much Adam Warlock would immediately nerf Bucky to the ground because then he couldn't get a refresh because Warlock did a burst heal and so he couldn't one-shot whoever was low. So I think he needs some tweaking for sure because he's really, really strong. But I think the rest of his kit's like it feels really good. It doesn't feel overpowered because it does require some pretty solid aim, like more than like Hawkeye, things like that. But yeah, he's S tier for sure. And last but certainly not least, we're gonna throw Wolverine in the S tier because the good tanks, right? The good tanks. I know people are picking up more Venom, more Hulk. And then if you have your shield tanks, you have your Doctor Strange and your Magneto, because that's the safety, right? And people are running 2, 3 tanks. Wolverine does percentage health damage. And so I'm going to say he's S tier because regardless of healers, if you have any additional help or you get a damage boost from Mantis, he shreds right through the tank, through the healing. He will just obliterate your tank. He will take them and kidnap them and scoop them up and move them to every side of the map, and you just, annihilate that tank. Wolverine is crazy good. Good skill expression. He's not that complicated to play. It's mostly just kind of like keeping track of your cooldowns and your meter, He's relatively simple. He does have some good skill expression with like using the 180 turns and the kidnappings, things like that. But he's really, really good. And I love that I can say, honestly, I think he's S tier right now. That's not, he was a favorite of mine before starting out. I had fun playing him. I swore people were sleeping on it, and I was right. Argue in the comments. Let me know what you think about the video as a whole and the tier list. Let me know if you would like me to do a prediction based on the season bonus changes for next week, next season, and I will see you on the next one.